Kenny Barnwell. Mr. Barnwell is the owner of Kenny Barnwell's Orchards in Edneyville, North Carolina, and has been in the apple industry since 1980. He is involved in numerous boards and committees, including North Carolina Apple Growers Association Board of Directors and North Carolina Horticultural Council. Mr. Barnwell, you'll be recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Commissioner Schuler, Ranking Member Luca Meyer. My name is Kenny Barnwell. I'm an apple farmer from Henderson County, which is located in the Chairman's District. When I returned to family operation after I graduated from Greensboro College in 1980, the apple industry in Henderson County was a thriving industry. At that time, there were 33 packing operations and almost 10,000 acres of apple orchards. Today, there are only 4 packing operations and about 5,500 acres of apple orchards. These numbers, however, do not accurately reflect the present condition of the industry. In the late 80s, the apple market in Henderson County began to disappear. This change was brought about by the use of controlled atmosphere storage in Washington State. This change enabled the growers in Washington State to market apples year-round, which removed the window when North Carolina had been marketing most of its apples, a time that occurred before other apples were available for the new crop. With the loss of this market advantage and the depressed prices of early apple production, many growers went out of business or reduced their acreage. Most of the rest of the growers then began to rely more heavily on processing grade apple production. The processing apple market was a way for growers to balance their apple production mix. Growers produced less fresh grade apples but made up the difference by producing more processing grade fruit. This business model worked until the juice processing plant in Mountain Home, the Gerber processing plant in Asheville, North Carolina, and the National Fruit Processing Plant in Lincolnton all closed within about a year and a half of each other. As a result, growing apples in Henderson County in the 90s was a very challenging undertaking. The loss of markets and the boom on real estate put a lot of pressure on many growers to make hard decisions about what they were going to do for the future. At this time, many new varieties of apples were shown to work very well in the climate in Henderson County. Most of the early research was done at the Mountain Research Station in Fletcher, North Carolina. This research station is operated by NC State, A&T, and the North Carolina Department of Agriculture. This new production is now coming in full production and has opened many new markets for our apples. The local grown movement has been important in our area because we are very near large markets, Atlanta, Charlotte, and all of Florida. Also, a new processing plant to slice apples has been built in Henderson County by the Henderson family. This plant's production and many of the fresh apples produced in Henderson County are now going into the school's nutrition program thanks to increased funding from the new Farm Bill. The Farm Bill also provided much-needed funding for research in mechanical harvesting of apples. With new methods of harvest, we would be less dependent on migrant labor. My own route in the apple industry has followed a changing course. When I returned to the farm, I worked for my uncle for 9 years in the 80s and then went into business for myself. And I bought an apple orchard in 1983 and then rented additional acreage in 1989 and became a full-time farmer. Since then, I have purchased part of a packing house where we no longer pack apples. I have changed from older varieties and large trees to almost all new varieties and dwarf trees. In that time, I also worked as a federal crop insurance adjuster and have served on most of the agriculture committees that you can serve on in Henderson County and in North Carolina. The apple industry in Henderson County is now strong and doing very well. However, the industry is still very fragile and faces many challenges. Some of these challenges are the increased cost of production, the new regulations in food safety, and the questions about availability of enough labor to harvest the crop. We as growers feel that we will be able to deal with this changing environment with the help of research and continued recognition that apples and other specialty crops are an important part of agriculture in North Carolina and the United States. Without the funding in the Farm Bill, we growers could not continue. We must have federal crop insurance to mitigate the inherent unpredictability of the weather, as we experienced in 2007 when most of the crop was destroyed in an Easter freeze. Chairman Schuler came to our packing house and met with growers twice to give much-needed support in Edneyville and in Washington. His hard work to help apples and other specialty crops be included in a crop disaster bill that provided much-needed help in a very difficult time, and is one of the reasons I would call the apple industry in Henderson County healthy. As we producers face many challenges, I feel that we need to be able to meet them all with the continued help and understanding from members of Congress like yourselves.